Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to make yourself a cup of tea or coffee if you want, because today we have very interesting stories, and one of them is a story about a woman who demanded the plane should be disinfected cause of her son and then caused a scene. Please subscribe if you haven't and I hope you'll enjoy it. This story is my sister's. She's a manager at a chain movie theater, but her particular theater really only does limited release films from film festivals. Which is awesome because she gets to meet directors sometimes. This theater is also on the rich side of town, so entitlement abound. Because the theater specializes in festival films, it has a standing policy that no child 12 and under is allowed in. Due to the sometimes graphic nature of the films. The No Child Under 12 policy is listed on the website and several places at the front of the theater. In fact, it's on a big silver sign at the front. The website doesn't even sell child tickets. Granted, it is not listed on third-party sites like Fandango, but that doesn't apply here. Though the usual standard is niche films, with Avengers Endgame coming out, money was guaranteed to flow. So a few showings were added. This happened the weekend it came out. Cast is as usual. EM. Entitled Mom, B. Boy, EM's kid, doesn't do anything. Poor sod. K. Is my sister Kimberly, CW. Coworker. Now, like I said, this is a second-hand account, but our family goes out of our way to avoid drama, but when it's unavoidable it's always memorable. So I trust the dialogue is correct. CW had just left the ticket-checking podium to take a break and Kay was on her way there to take over. Well, they made the switch. EM must have snuck past and entered the theater, but made the mistake of coming back out to get snacks. On her way back to the movie, my sister stops her and her son because his smaller size raised the question of the kids' carbon dating. Excuse me, how old are you? She always asks the kids this and not the parent because more often than not the kid will tell the truth. I'm 12. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but theater policy states children 12 and under are not allowed in. Well, we already went in, so we're going to watch it. Starts to move on. Ma'am, your son is not old enough. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Why? He's almost 13 and your theater added a kids movie. She said it. I realize that, ma'am, but the policy still stands. We have signs at the front and online that state the age restriction. I can give you a refund or a rain check if you like. But I drove all the way here. Again, I'm sorry, ma'am. My sister, in fact my whole family, don't take anyone's crap. Would you like a refund or a rain check? I want both. No ma'am, it's one or the other. Surprisingly, EM says, fine. A refund. Kay flags someone to take her place at the podium, then leads them back to the ticket counter to give her the refund. Clarification: her tickets were purchased on the company website because if they were purchased through a third party, she wouldn't be able to do a refund at the theater. Do you have the card you purchased the tickets with? No. Okay, do you have any card? Register wouldn't let her give cash back. No. Okay, she does some finagling and manages to finally get it to give cash. Here you go. What's your district manager's number? I don't believe we have one of those, ma'am. The whole manager hierarchy works different here, no district manager, just a lot of little managers and corporate above them. Yes you do. Give me his number. Well, I can ask, give me a second. Kay talks in the walkie-talkie while the EM stares daggers at her. Like I said before, ma'am, we don't have a district manager, but I can give you the number to corporate. Yes. Give it to me. Okay, here you go. I'm filing a report about this. Okay, have a good day. Unfortunately, she wasn't done. After Kay went back to the ticket check and CW came back from break, EM comes to the podium, addressing CW and ignoring Kay. We left our stuff in the theater, can you get it? She, looking at Kay, threw us out. Yes ma'am, you can go get it. The movie hasn't started yet. No, we can't. Someone is already sitting in our seats. Kay and CW look at each other confused. Okay, I'll go check. There was no one in the seat. CW grabs their jackets and blanket and hands them to EM. I can't believe this is how you treat military. Daffy. Then she leaves. I'm so glad I left retail personally, but my poor sister has to deal with this daily. She mentioned another time about a customer who started recording her because his pass was expired. Maybe I'll ask her about that one. Hope you enjoyed. How stupid do you have to be to try to go into a movie with a kid under the age limit listed in the same place you bought the ticket somehow? I work as a nurse now, but this story happened when I was still in school, completing my second practicum of 4. The site I was working at was a long-term care facility, which some people might call an old folks home. Where I live, healthcare is covered by the government, but there are still some companies that offer separate, non-funded healthcare for people who would like to pay for it. It sometimes is better, sometimes it's the same, it depends on location and company. This care facility happened to be one of those private ones, where all of the people who were living there were paying to be there. This is important because that means all of the people come from families with enough money to pay for their loved ones to live there. I worked at this facility for 3 months, primarily in the lockdown dementia ward. I really enjoyed it, and it was very eye-opening about how good nurses can really improve someone's quality of life. Most of the families were quite friendly, but there were a few who were awful. The woman of this story I will affectionately call Bowel Movement, BM. She was the daughter of one of my clients. Her mother, lovely Elle, was one of my favorite clients, as she was very positive and easygoing. She had severe dementia and was often hard to understand, but she loved visiting and laughing with anyone who she met. BM was a stern businesswoman who was coddled on Elle's fortune since an early age. I don't remember exactly why Elle was so wealthy. I vaguely remember she was the widow of some sort of local business tycoon. Whenever BM would visit, my shifts were hell. She would sit in her mother's room and non-stop ring the nurse call bell, just so that we would bring her snacks or open the curtains. She would also follow staff members around and criticize all of their work. I caught her snooping in another client's room one time and reported her. She would let her devil-spawn children run around and disrupt all of the staff and other clients. They tried to break into the medication cabinet once and tried to rip the needle disposal bin off of the wall. One time, BM rang the code blue bell, which triggers a massive emergency protocol among the staff so that someone could get her a glass of water. After that, she was only allowed supervised visits to the premises. When Elle became non-verbal, BM really ramped up the entitlement. In my country, we have a procedure called medical assistance in dying, which is sometimes referred to as doctor-assisted suicide. BM already had control of her mother's finances, but a large chunk was not accessible to her until after her mother's passing, as it was her mother's money for private health care. Of course, the less healthcare her mother needed, the less of that money would be spent, and the more money BM would get. So, when Elle became non-verbal, her daughter decided that she was worthless. She actually said to me, in front of Elle, "The only useful thing mom can do now is die and give me her money. I could use it on much better things, like taking devil spawns to Disney." I hated her. She didn't care about her mother at all and only wanted her money. I felt so bad for Elle, who thankfully didn't seem to understand what her daughter had said. BM came in a few times with a lawyer to try to talk to Elle's physician about medical-assisted death, but she was always escorted off the premises. Luckily, there is a restriction on medical-assisted death in which the client cannot consent to the procedure if they are mentally incompetent of understanding the implications of the procedure. As Elle's dementia prevented her from understanding what a sock was, she was obviously unable to consent and was never at risk. The final blow in this story was what got BM arrested and criminally charged. One of my coworkers, as this happened when I wasn't working, caught BM trying to smother her own mother with a pillow. She was arrested, and I know she was charged criminally, but I do not know exactly what happened. Although Elle was not seriously injured by the attack, she did pass away in the last week of my practicum. She was a really sweet lady who did not deserve to be abused by her family, and I'm glad that my coworker was able to be with her when she passed, so she was not alone. I know this isn't the most gratifying story, as there isn't really any closure, but BM was by far the most entitled person I have ever met. That's horrible. What kind of daughter would do that to her own mother? I hope her kids disown her outright when or if she gets out, and I hope she doesn't see a cent of that money. A little backstory. I was around 11, now 20, at the time. Just 3 years after I left from Russia to the US, I was going to Mexico with some family. This was also when they served peanuts and not the weird biscuit things now. Now for the story. I'm just sitting down in one of the seats playing Pokémon Emerald. It was my first Pokémon game and still in my favorite to this day, and I know it's not everyone's favorite, on my Game Boy Advanced. Then I hear this little interaction between the customer service person and the EMEK, who was probably 10 max. "How can I help you?" "I would like the whole plane to be disinfected," as she stopped up aggressively. That would take a very long time and many people would be very upset with you. So what, in a very bratty tone. I don't care, I just want that to happen. If you don't mind me asking why we have to disinfect the entire plane. My son has a deadly peanut allergy if you don't know. Her son would already be dead by now because airports are like the freaking Amazon of allergies, but I didn't question it at the time. I see what I can do. That's right, under his breath, but I could hear it loud as day. About 15 or 20 min go by, and we are supposed to begin boarding, but we aren't due to the witch that made us all wait. I'm sorry, but we can't do that because it would take too long. As soon as she finished those words, it looked like we needed an exorcist for this witch, but probably won't because she deserves it. You better do that or else we will board the plane and you will have a dead child on your plane that you could have prevented just by disinfecting the freaking plane. She said that so loud it seemed like the whole terminal could hear it. You better do it, witch, or else I'll die. Remember, he's 10 max. He probably heard those words while his parents were making hate love. I'll call the police once we have landed. She said a whole bunch of crap that she said she was going to do. During that whole incident, someone called the police to arrest the EM and EK. The police arrived and there were 2 officers and they were armed to the teeth. Handguns, tasers, taser guns, etc. They were freaking prepared for any crap she gave to them. What is going on here? The CS isn't letting me on the plane and this kid stole my son's Game Boy. Here's where I come into this whole situation. This kid stole my Game Boy and won't give it back, he is fake crying. The second police officer taps on my shoulder because I was wearing headphones. Give it back to him, in a very soft-spoken voice. It's not his. I show PO2 the back of my Game Boy, which is my name in freaking Russian in black Sharpie. See, it has my name on it. He screamed this even though we were a few feet from each other. The PO2 doesn't how to deal with it except to deal with ID to prove who is the rightful owner of the Game Boy. The entitled kid goes and gets his passport from his mom to the officer and I give him mine, which is in Russian. The M looks over and sees my passport, which isn't a US one. Look at this outsider stealing other people's stuff. PO1 puts her in cuffs just for saying that. PO2 takes the Game Boy. I just about to beat the last person in the Elite 4 BTW when she shut it off. Let's see whose this actually is. Hey kid, pointing at the EK, and his face starts to light up while giving back his passport. You don't deserve this because of the way you were talking to the CS and the way you treated a person who isn't from the US. She then turns to me. I'm sorry about this and I really like your passport, it's pretty cool. I've never been to Russia before, but I would love to go. I'm glad that I got my Game Boy back, but I'm sad that I have to beat the Elite 4 over again. Got to have my priorities. I'm not sure what the conversation was between the PO1 and the EM, but all I know is that it was a lot of false accusations. After she was dragged away along with the EK, it had been nearly 1 hour. Before I got on the plane, I got stopped by the CS person and asked if I wanted to sit first class because there was one available and I said yes. I sat in first class while the rest of my family sat in coach. So I sat in first class as an 11-year-old playing Pokémon Emerald with an unlimited supply of whatever the hell I wanted. Everyone got compensation for the flight, also not just me. I think they all had free meals and a few other things. I think the EM got lots of charges, but I can't remember how many, and I believe the EM lost custody of the EK for influencing the child to do such things. Some of these people see police officers and hurry to pick out what they like most in the room to then claim as theirs and as stolen. That is really crazy. Context. I work as the assistant cook in the kitchen at a summer camp or resort. I am 17 meters. Anyone who wants to come must put any dietary restrictions or choices on their sign-up sheet so the kitchen staff can accommodate them. Sometimes if it is a choice and they forget to put it on there, they just don't take anything they can't eat and inform the staff for the next meal. Other times, they are worse about it. This happened this morning. The diet sheet said there was 1 vegetarian, 3 gluten intolerant, 1 peanut allergy, and 2 lactose intolerant people. It said nothing about vegans. We had not made or even bought any meat substitute bacon because the vegetarian person said not to worry about it since she didn't like it very much and because it was so expensive. For breakfast, we had waffles, yogurt, fruit, and bacon. Only fruit is a vegan option. There was milk and eggs in the waffles. As we were serving breakfast, we do it cafeteria style. Someone asked if we had a bacon substitute for him and his son, whom I would guess was about 10. Me and the other cook looked at each other, confused because this was not the vegetarian. We told him no, asked if he was vegetarian, and told him we would gladly make him some meat substitute for lunch. We were quickly corrected. "We're vegan," he said. He then complained, asking us to make some vegan bacon for him. We told him that we don't have any. Then he said, "Well, can we have double waffles then?" We said sure, since they couldn't have bacon. As we put the waffles on his plate, he asked, "Are there eggs or milk in these?" Told him, yes, and he said, "I don't want them then, can you make me something else? Also, do you have vegan yogurt?" We told him if he didn't put on his sheet, we would not accommodate it until the next meal. He said he didn't feel it was necessary to put on the sheet since there are always vegan options when he goes to restaurants in his town. I should point out that this is not a restaurant. We do not take orders. We make enough for everybody, and if you want something else, tough. His son then asked me, "Can I have a piece of toast with jam please, sir?" I told him sure since it was only a slice of bread and a scoop of jam. His dad, on the other hand, was not satisfied. He wanted a vegan version of what everyone else was eating. We told him that was not possible until lunch and that he had to either eat what he was given or not eat at all. He said, "I would rather starve than eat an animal," and walked away with his breakfastless son in tow. They got some fruit and sat down. Feeling bad for the kid, I brought him his toast. His dad said, "Fine, I'll have some toast. Can you make me 4 pieces of toast with peanut butter?" We told him, "Sorry, sir, but we can't make anything with peanut butter for you since there is someone with a peanut allergy here." He replied with, "Can't you guys tell them to go outside then?" I was dumbfounded. We told him no, obviously, and he got all whiny. "I just want some freaking food, is that too much to ask freaking lazy teenagers?" Pretty much screaming. His son was standing there, looking quite embarrassed. "Fine, I'll just have 5 pieces of toast with margarine, then. But you guys had better make sure it is vegan." Not wanting to argue with him anymore, we just complied. After breakfast, his son came by the kitchen window and apologized for his dad, saying that this was not the first time that this happened. I honestly feel bad for the kid. People should know that not everything is like their hometown. He just flat out refused to fill out the sheet that would entirely solve his problem, jeez. Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about a man in a gym who demanded Op should let his son see OP's breast to cheer him up. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.